Oh no. Okay, hold on. I think it's good now. Is it good again? I think we're back. That was horrifying. That was horrifying. Horrifying. Lovely. Hey, we're back. Alright. First to make sure. Sounds good. So, we have to break it to Brasilia. We have to break the bad news to Brasilia that we broke our promise. Whoopsies. Uh-oh. What do we tell Lori? I don't know. Let's see what happens. Oh no. Oh no. So, what do we tell Lori? Let's see. Oh, we have no choice. You must marry Ivo, the Prince of Etana. I'm sorry. What do you mean? Don't I get a say in this? We need this marriage to secure an army that will defend us. A war is coming. Oh, so I'm gonna be sacrificed. Did you even consider any other options? Did you even try to offer something other than your daughter? To be honest, he didn't. He didn't offer anything other than the daughter. Oh no. Ugh. Ugh. Oh, that hurts. Yeah. I know we didn't even get given a choice. So, the king didn't even think about it. Well, I knew it. I knew the day I'm old enough, you would just sell me to the highest bidder. You've been waiting for this. You can't wait to get rid of me, can you? It's technically not our fault, it's just the king's fault. The king is not a smart dude. I wish I was a common girl living in a village, having nothing to worry about, being able to marry the one I love, not some snob I've never met. Oof. Oh. Lori, I'm sorry. Oh no, don't cry. Stupid wedding, stupid prince. You're stupid. Oh. Oh no. Oh. At least we gave her a heads up. At least we gave her a heads up? Question mark? Oh no. Oh no. Still think we're getting that Father of the Year mug? To be honest, probably not. Yeah, definitely not. Alright. Let's see what the youngest wants. Your Grace. How are you doing? You're a king, so why do you listen to the man in the council chamber, Father? Well, he's a king too, you know? I love the youngest child. But you're a better king! We even have money for the mug now. And I don't think we're gonna get it. We're not gonna get it. You're a better king. He should listen to you. Yes, yes. Keep your voice down, Pumpkin. Oh. The other king has more power. The other king has more power. We do not have much power. We have very little power. No power for us. The king is very much not smart. Darling? Oh. Thank you, Stream Elements. Yes, I see. Thank you. Thank you, bot. Yes, yes. Pat, pat, pat. Roselia is getting married. What? No. Oh yeah! The PNG tuber. Go follow White Rice. Rice is awesome. Go give them a follow. E and Izzy. Izzy did the emotes and the badges. Very talented. Go give both of them a follow. Did Byron find us? We can't let him. Lazelia will marry Ivo, the prince of Atana, and made a treaty with Talus, marriage for army in return. No, we cannot let her marry a barbarian. Eric, you said you would find a way. Wait, Ivo? That's good. That's great. Ivo's the prince after all. If Lazelia is married to Ivo, then Byron can't do anything. Talus's army might simply scare them away. Lark got distracted. You're good, you're good. This is fantastic news, Eric. Wonderful. Who's gonna prepare the wedding? Guests, menus, we need to decorate the throne room. Need to buy flowers and decorations. Oh, and we need a band too. I'll take care of that. We'll see how our treasury looks at the end of the week. Does Roselia know yet? Yes. She didn't take it very well. Oh, but what does she know? She won't want to marry that barbaric Bayron. Who knows what Randovians do with their wives. Wouldn't surprise me if they... Ooh, yikes. Give her time, she'll come around to the idea. How are you holding up? And well, I think I managed to sleep tonight. Everything's on my head. What shall I eat? Where will I get a dress? I think things will turn out perfectly fine. Thank you, my dear. I told you, get some rest now. Fine, I will stay here. Alright, and it looks like that is it. Later that night. Oh boy. Uh-oh. It had better be something important at this ungodly hour. And we're just... You know, everything's gonna be fine. It'll be good. Your Grace, Randovian forces have been spotted nearby. Oh! Uh-oh. We should send our men to track them down. They've come for Roselia. Eric, you must do something. Send the general? You want to send the general? Alright, general it is. Let's send Stan. We need to see what they are up to. Get the tall peasant! Get the tall peasant! Ooh, okay. Oh boy. Okay. So we have a few things now. And we're doing fairly decently with happiness too. We can focus on the wedding stuff. Like the hire the band, buying the fabrics, buying flowers. No one cares about the stupid wedding. But at the very least, we can at least make it good for Roselia at least too. Make it decent. Ah. Make it, you know, like somewhat bearable at least. Theater? Are you absolutely positive? No wedding stuff? Are you sure? That's still like 10 gold. No one cares about the wedding. Fine, fine, fine. 4 weeks until the wedding. Theater maybe get one thing for the wedding if the gold cost. What's off the list? And can't we have the wedding in the theater? Just theater. And that's actually a good point. Well, to be honest, it's just the throne room and everything, so we kind of have to be the throne room. Oh wait, what time is it? Okay. Let's do one more week, and then I actually have to go and do something. So unfortunately, this will be the last week. This will be the last week, and then I will stream. I'll stream this again. Yeah, but theater's repaired. So let's see, 36 gold, 20 supplies, and 3,000. A lot of army stuff. A lot of army people. Theater's repaired. No worries. Okay, general. Sorry, this king makes me stressed. No, you're good. You're good. you're good. You're good. It's okay. It might be a good idea that this is the last week then, because I have to go do something. So he has. Yay! The youngest daughter. She is here. What have you learned? Redonians have formed stationary posts around our castle, your grace. Camps, if you like. They're planning their next moves. Destroying the posts should damage their ability to form strategies. Ayo. Although we now have a prospect of an army, we shouldn't give them any advantage. You should take a look at the map, your grace. Send an agent to clear out these posts as soon as possible. Wait on my mark, General. I will instruct you where to strike. Yes, your grace. Davian bandits make camps around the castle. You need to send a general to eliminate the posts. To see the post, open the map by clicking map button below. Alright. So we need... Ooh, there were 3 posts. Yikes. Alright, so we only have 1 general, so it'll take about 3 weeks to get rid of all of these posts. Do the west one first. There's north, west, and east. They'll need to come down eventually. Oh, where do we start? Is that one, that one, that one? This is by the fields and crops. It is, yeah. I'm very uncomfy with. That's fair. Yeah, they might attack the crops and everything. The north one is also by the crops too. We could have really used an extra general. Pet, pet, pet. It's okay. Pet, pet, pet. To be fair, it's still gonna take like an extra week to get rid of this last one over here. I've been pet. Pets. East is near the more immediate fields. You want to do east then? Does this even matter? It does. Considering that these posts are the post of the army that's coming to us, it definitely does, yeah. I was just looking around. I mean, if it even matters which one we start with, not really, no. East also doesn't have a lot to defend against. That is true. Yeah. Tis true. Are gonna go anyway. Yep. Yeah, so if you want, we can just like start with east and then just go around. East first. This one. Going once. I say west, not to agree with you, way. I mean, we can get that one next time. We can definitely get this one next time. But again, it doesn't really matter like where we start and everything. We could start with north and go west then and go east and west. I do not agree today. It's all good, no worries. I'll put my money on east. It's the most isolated after all. That's fair. Yeah, the easier one to take down. Pet, 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 Clay. There we go. The general has been sent. Alright. And now... you ready for the wedding in 4 weeks. So... so... the posts need to be gone by the wedding. So we do have a time limit, and we still need to provide for the people's needs. Striking the right balance between the two might be tough, if not impossible. With our current resources, we will need to prioritize. Alright. Lady Ada! Yeah! Ada is here. I always forget how beautiful this castle is, Your Grace. Really should visit Riveno more often. I have a favor to ask of you. Thank you, what can I do you for? There was a nefarious thief going from lord to lord, pretending like he needs help. He has convinced other nearby lords to give him gold, including me. Oh, so she was scammed. Make the year go by as good as possible. That's fair. He always says he's a merchant, and his goods have been stolen. I'm sure he will visit you sooner or later. Ooh, okay. Well, let's just see what he looks like. Was he wearing anything specific? Did anything stand out? He was wearing a dirty cream apron and a dark green shirt. Oh. Didn't someone visit us about that before? Different guy. That was a different guy. That guy didn't have the dirty apron and the dark green shirt. So gotta make sure to remember that. You gotta be sure to remember. Oh, and he was wearing a hat. I will keep an eye out for him. If I find him, I will send for you as soon as possible. Thank you very much, Your Grace. Alright, so we keep an eye on the thief. Oh hey, a merchant. And with a business proposition... Oh! The tavern guy's back. The voidlings remember that. The voidlings will remember. Alright. So this one... So guess what? The tavern guy's back. Yeah, it was always 12. Eh. So build. No. Come back later. Yeah, you do have the money now. Or we do have the money now. There is 36. 36 money. We are pretty decent. Remember, we can always have him come back another time. But 12 is but building the tavern is minus 12 gold. Eventually, we would get that gold back. Because he said that he would pay us back, remember? Which one? Which one? Which one will it be? I remember. Yo. Remembering memory is good. Sometimes you gotta lose money to lose money. Yep, that is so true. If you make money, you're good, Silver. No worries. You are good. Pat, pat, pat. Yeah, eventually, the tavern, we would make the money back and everything. Oh. Oh? Result is no. Calais with 39 channel points spent. I was oh no. That's like one vote too. Now Clay, here's the thing. This is the one that you voted for. Which means this guy's not coming back. Realize that the vote started? Oh, you're good, you're good. I don't care. Are you sure? I was too agreeable for the whole stream. Hmm. Hmm. I need some bad decision. I mean, that's fair. There'll also be more of that later on too. Oh, hi cat. We'll get the money back. I don't trust that we'll keep as much as we have now. Hey, that's fair. Let's see. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on this one. Because some people didn't realize that the vote started. I do think. Mostly because some people didn't realize that the vote started and everything. I paid. That's true. Rerun the poll? Okay. I'm gonna rerun the poll. That is true. Let's and if he says hello. Hello Silver's nephew. Hope you're doing well, Silver's nephew. Hello, nephew. He's calling you blue and I won't take another name as an answer. I mean, that's very fair. I am very blue. I am different shades of blue. I will gladly accept that nickname. Yes, yes. Nephew Bolt is going to get a sibling bolt soon. Yo! Sibling bolt for the nephew bolt. Let's go. Alright. You guys ready? I'm gonna start the poll again. Gonna rerun the poll. Haven't told me yet, but next year he's gonna be a big brother. Aw, nice. Yo, the bigger sibling. Alright, and here we go. This will be the last rerun. So, whatever happens with this poll, whatever happens is gonna stay. Let's say halfway there. Gotta fight for your chances. Fight for your vote. Oh. Oh. Only a few more seconds. Oh no, the PC's acting up. No. Oh no. Aww. Alright, so now we build the tavern. Watch us suddenly be unable to pay for something important. It's okay, Clay. There will be more decisions to come later on. It's okay, it's okay. Pet, pet, pet. If we go bankrupt, I'm blaming you. It'd be like weeks from now. You and Vale. That's fair. Yeah, you know, that's fair, that's fair. I will accept the blame. I will accept it. Gonna pay for the tavern and a guy's gonna rush in like, my lord, our entire wall has exploded. We need exactly 30 gold to pay for it. The entire wall is gone. We need exactly 25 gold. Trish just gave me 20 Roche points as an apology. Hey, let's go. Gimme boo, gimme ba. Gimme boo, gimme ba. We'll see what happens. Gimme bop. Gimme bop. And then the daughter. How can I help? Oh, I'm worried about Lysilia, father. What happens to her when she leaves? She promised me she'd take care of me, but now she's leaving. Why would she lie? And what happens to Dusty? Ooh, yikes. Ooh. Oh, what do we tell the small child? As you know, Little Pumpkin is so worried about what will happen. What do we tell the small child? Deflection, Dusty. We ignore just everything. We talk about Dusty. We talk about the cat. Alright, let's go with the cat. Are you more concerned about Lysilia or her cat? Both, truly. It's Lysilia's cat. She would probably want to take Dusty to keep her company. But if she didn't leave, then Dusty wouldn't have to go as well. How do we tell her that we aren't always given a choice? I have no idea, I'll be honest. Hard to say. Hard to say. I don't want her to leave. Can you talk to her? Oh no. How do we tell her that we aren't always given a choice, and also how do we tell her that it's basically our fault? Your father is in the age where he should not be a king. Father is in the age when he should not be a king. Yeah, no, very, very true. Father, why are you speaking to yourself in the third person? Where? When? I don't know. That's it's all good. The words are difficult. Father, why are you speaking in third person? Definitely not being controlled by little void guys. No, no, no. Definitely not. Definitely not being possessed. Yep. The void speaks to you, child. The void speaks to you through your father. Your father is an idiot. I'm not wrong, though. The father is an idiot. It's not exactly Lozelia's choice. I'm sure she would prefer to stay. She would never leave you on purpose. So actually, the king made a deal with a horde of spirits that sadly cannot influence how he says something. And unfortunately, the king is an idiot. He does not have a good way with words. I see no lie. Believe us, we tried. We tried to influence him. We tried to say things. We tried to have him say different things, but it just did not come out right. The king has had a history of making some bad deals, let me tell you. You know, the first deal that he made all on his own was to give his unborn child to a thug. And that was before us. You know, long story short, kid, your dad, your father can be quite the idiot. He's not smart. We're trying our best here. Why does she do it then? If she would rather stay, then she should. You talk to her, convince her to stay? Of course, said Eddie. I can try to convince her, but I don't think that will change a thing. Especially considering it was the king's fault in the first place. I knew I could count on you, thank you. Or like that pronouns meme. We're not they them only because we're non-binary. We're they them because we're a bunch of voidlings. just a bunch of creatures just possessing the king. A bunch of creatures possessing the king and fighting over what decisions the king makes. Oh no. We'll see how this goes. Week 5 and nothing's exploded yet? So far, at least it's somewhat good, I think. I don't know. Alright, and then a peasant. Your grace, they took our cattle. Spoiler, the options are all bad. Every last one. A bunch of creatures in a row posing as his shadow. Yep. Just don't look at his shadow though. Just don't mind the fact that the shadow is just a few shades darker than shadows should be. Pay that no mind. It'll be fine. It'll be good. Monsters with steel came in the night and took everything. There's plenty of grass left now, but what's the good of it if there ain't cattle to graze on it? Can you help us, your grace? Ooh, let's see. Another poll, another one. Let's see, new poll. Let's see. Let's see, help the peasant. Let's see. Let's see, 5 supplies, 5 gold, or no help. Which one? New poll. I see. Supplies are more important since that's what feeds the population. It is. That it is. It's very true. The peasants are the population. They are the population. They need the food. They need to be fed. What's that? What are they supposed to buy if they have no cattle in the first place? That is true. It's very true. 5 seconds left. Both are valid arguments. And that's valid argument. Ooh. That is like exactly half. But the bot chose the 5 supplies. I don't know. That's the first. Huh. And it is. It is exactly half. But I think the bot chose. The supplies one. I don't. Who was it? Who was it? Who did it? You know, the bot had the deciding vote. You know, it was half and half. The bot chose the supplies. You know, bot chose supplies. I guess robots are all for humanity then, I guess. That should replace your cattle and get you something to eat for a while. Carrie, Cootie, vote themselves. I can't, no. I can technically only vote once, but I can't use any points. Take this. Throws 5 sacks of grains directly at the peasant's head. The peasant then falls to the ground. Because they are in fact way too heavy for the single peasant. That's perfect. Thank you, Your Grace. Alright. So everything is all good. Alright. And then we go over here. Azalea's not up there. Maybe Azalea would know where she is? Maybe. Hard to say. Yeah. I didn't think that she'd be up there. I want to check anyway. Alright, and gardens. Oh. She's fencing. Your Grace? Oh. Sparring, fighting. Swords. Please tell me you haven't had a skirmish with Lorzilia. She's far too soft for that, she wouldn't stand a chance. Let me be the judge of that. Tell me what you got. You will fight with the girl? Yes. Fight. Fight, fight, fight. Spar. Spend time with your daughter. I really don't know how to. I can't play any games. I just had to find something else to do. And I just picked them up. Ooh. Do we teach? One good decision. The one good decision that the king himself has made. Ooh. Let's see. So do we say just swing your sword? Less talking, more fighting. Or do we just swing the sword without any words? You at least give her like some heads up. Yeah, the one good decision that this king has made. He's growing up so fast. Hey, rehabilitation. Option 1. First one. Alright. I refuse to spend money. That's fair. Don't let your opponent hit you and be quick. That's the basics. Am I holding it right? Hey. Ouch. Too slow. My turn. You got quite an arm there, young lady. And tell me, Azelia, what's going on with you two? Still holding grudges? She's locked herself up in her chamber. You did leave feces on her bed. Don't pretend like this is the reason she won't come out. Is this what will happen to me too Is this what will happen to me one day too? Oh no, poor child. Oh. Oh no. Oh no. You'll be 13 next year. I want to say no. You're not so brash now, are you? Second one? You want to say no? I know there's really not much we can do. I don't want my little girls to leave home so soon. But the truth is, once you become of age, we will need to find you a husband. Sooner or later. I guess I didn't think of it before. This puts everything into a different perspective. I was angry at her for being irritating, but now I'm angry at her that she's leaving me. Oh. I feel bad for her, but who will I vex now? Sedani is too young, it's not the same. I'm sure you'll find a way to occupy your time. I guess we should end it here. I was just warming up. I think we could do this again one day. What do you say, chat? Should we continue the sword fighting lessons? Or no more sword. Be a good father. If you can't be a good king, at the very least be a good father. Yeah. Alright, we continue the sword fighting lessons. I will find you when I have a while. I suppose that'll be never then. We hardly do anything anymore. Talis would tell you otherwise, trust me. Put that on his put that on his gravestone. Couldn't be a good king, but at least he was a good father. Father, I'm sorry. What I did to Lorzelia wasn't fair. Don't apologize to me. I know. I feel like it's best to give her some time. I will make it right, though. Don't do anything silly. Do I ever? He tried. He didn't. Oh, I have the sword now. I have a sword. Alright, and then last one. Alright, and then we talk to wife. How the wedding preparations going? Need help with anything? Preparing some handmade decorations. I hope Lucelia likes them. I'm sure she will. They're lovely, my darling. The wedding is so soon, and there is so much to do. I think we are gonna have roast duck and a collation salad. I don't know yet about the cake. I need to speak to Lucelia about it. I'll let you work on the preparations. If you need anything, I'll be in the throne room. Alright, and then holding up. Okay. Alright. And I think that's it. But I'm gonna check the dungeon real quick. You know, that guy's still there. He's good. He's good. It's good, it's fine. It's fine, it's all good. Eh. Alright. So. Do we want to do anything with the wedding at all? Do we want to buy the flowers? Flowers is 15 supplies. Fabrics and band. No wedding, I don't like this wedding. I mean, that's fair, Clay. It is very fair. You know, it it's not good, but at the very least, I think it would be a good idea to make it at least good for Roselia. The needs must be met unless you want it to end in disaster. It must be good. It must be. We can buy one thing and that's all I'll support. One thing. After that, nothing. Yeah, we can do the flowers. That'd bring supplies down to 9. The fabrics would bring the gold down to 18. And the band would bring it down to 15. We could do the flowers and the fabrics. That would go down to 18 and 9 respectively. We need the supplies. That is true. I could also argue and say that we do need gold as well. Because otherwise we can't really pay for anything. And to hold off one more week, though. Yes and no. Because at the bottom here, it says time until the wedding, 3 weeks. So by the time we can come back to this again, it'll be 2 weeks. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Is everything okay? Everything good? Is everything saved? All good? Maybe? I don't know. Okay, I know everything's good. It also liked me too, yeah. I think everything should be good now, I think. Everything should be good. Yeah, just had a little silly moment. Just a little silly moment. It's all good. Do not worry. And procrastination isn't good. Procrastination really isn't procrastination isn't good. Just one. The most sense it would be the band because they can play in the theater until the wedding. Yeah. I mean, we definitely could. That would bring it down to like 2 weeks. Going off of actual logistics here. Pet. It's a fun way to think about it. It is a fun way to think about, I won't lie. You know, we could hold off on one more week if we wanted to. We could definitely hold off one more week. Please, one more week. Alright. Alright, fine. We'll hold off on one more week. That means next week we should probably buy something for the wedding. Let me win. I'm a professional procrastinator. Alright, fine. Alright, fine. We'll wait one more week. However, management game isn't what players see, but also be an actual repercussions and consequences following the decisions. Yeah? I mean, to be fair, that's just more fun to think about it. More fun. More fun. Alright, and I think with that, I think I am gonna end it here. So I click save, so everything's saved, and we can continue this a different day. Let's see. I know I usually do like the Zelda lo-fi and everything for like the ending stuff, but I really like this just this ending and everything. This ending song. Ducks? Yeah. I was gonna say, let's see. Want me to send you to anyone? Let's see. I can definitely see if the ducks. Let's see. Yeah, let me just grab the ducks. Little floaty boys. You know, this salving music is really nice. I like it. Very good, very good. Holding. Pausing. Oh yeah! And again, last but not least, be sure to go give Izzy and Rice a follow on both of their Twitters, and also Rice's Twitch as well. They are awesome at what they do. I would just go follow, go support them. This is very fun. This is a good idea. I would definitely have to continue this another time. Let me think. Aww. Let's see. I don't think I'll play this game on Tuesday, but I will stream on Tuesday. It'll be Paper Mario. And then it'll be the rest of the 5 hours that I didn't do for the 24-hour stream. And then raid. I'm also going to raid the ducks. Yeah, there we go. Alright. It was a very, very fun stream. Very fun stream. I won't lie, it's very fun to just like see you guys fight in the polls. Trying to figure out like which you're trying to make your choice win. Oh, hello Kerrigan. Hey, hello VOD watchers. Hope you're doing good. Oh, remember to do your Duolingo. Be sure to get something to eat, something to drink. Be sure to also take your meds as well if you haven't already. And I will probably see you guys, like I said, on Tuesday. It won't be this game, but it will be Paper Mario. Remember to fight against the oppressors. Fight! Fight! Alright. Yeah. Pretty average stream time, like about 3 hours. So yeah. Alright. I'll see you guys later. See you guys on Tuesday. Around the same time, give or take. Maybe a bit sooner, but we'll see. Alright. Goodbye! Bye! 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 Thank you guys for stopping by. Hope you're doing good. Bye-bye! Oh yes, hello cat. I have a cat by me now. Bye-bye!